small craft came in, and they would swoop down over their heads and try to...
Wait, nobody was scared or screamed or...
Yeah, they were scared, you bet, and I was scared.
Oh, this is more than one
This
craft.
was at Camp Cedars near Fremont, Nebraska, during the Golden Arrow ceremony, and the disc-shaped craft showed up, which always showed up in a flight of 4 or 5, and that's these little guys here on the table.
And we'll look at those.
Okay. This is what I call the saucer booth routine, where the voice would encourage everybody to get into the booth for eternal knowledge and wisdom, and something to do with the Indians and the buffalo, which is very strange.
And here you were sort of emulating an Indian, some traditions at your camp.
I thought that was very, but this happened also throughout the 46 years of experience.
This is more of the...
This would be a typical scene in an evening, you might say.
Sort of a formation...
Yes, this is how they looked when they came in. Now, it's very interesting. Well, I should say something about this. I had simple experiences and more complex experiences, and during the more complex experiences, what seemed to be very ordinary human men dressed in street clothes would walk up to us and start explaining what was going on, and they would also educate us into American history, the Native Americans, and so forth.
And were those are real humans that appeared? Well,
I don't,
as best as you can tell.
Once I saw one of them come walking out of a volume of distorted atmosphere. Several times my relatives and I were levitated up into a craft. During this particular time, my uncles were reprimanded, you might say, for giving me trouble because of the craft. They would always give me trouble because they thought I was responsible. And I also learned more about the eternal knowledge and wisdom of Indians and buffalo during that experience.
And these are some of your sculptures.
Yes,
Sculptures based on what you saw and what you remember that you saw.
I thought that people could more readily identify with what I'm talking about if I had three-dimensional sculptures. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, all of these had a certain routine normally that...
That's the booth, the second from the right.
The booth is the
booth that you go into. And the teepee, which I assume is...
That was always connected to an education about the American Indian or the Native Americans.
Okay. Wow, and that looks like some sort of igloo or something.
That one was an educational type object. The one on the right was the elongated saucer. Now, I actually, you can believe this or not, went on time travels into the future, and every time this craft showed up, there would be the same human individuals on board. And they would take us into the future at certain locations, primarily in eastern Nebraska, and show us what we were to do in the future.
And what is that?
Well, I need to finish that real quickly. After my recollections in 1987, I actually met those people that I had traveled with during the 1950s time travels. And the information we exchanged verified that we had actually dealt with the same intelligence, and it was verified down to the minute scientific details. This is what I call the coffin, and it was extremely strange, and I would have to take too much time, I think, to explain how it was connected.
Okay, well, we won't go into that. And now that, all right, we'll come back out here, and we'll put you on hold for a second, because we come from the personal anecdotal side. Now we're going to go to Dr. Kasher. Now, you approached this from, you've had no personal contact.
No, not really.
All right, just for the record.
Yeah.
But you are an academician, and how did you get, obviously you had a personal interest in this, but how did you marry your interest with getting sort of academically involved from a research point of view?
Well, about 10, 12 years ago, for some reason, I got very interested in UFOs and started reading a lot about them. And of course, as I did that, I always thought about it from my own personal point of view, which is as a scientist. And so I reactivated my membership in the Mutual UFO Network, and I'm now a physics consultant for them. That's a group of 5,000 or 6,000 people internationally dedicated to the scientific study of UFOs.
Well, we're going to get into your video in just a second, but it's really hot right now because of the whole Mars thing.
That's right, yeah. NASA is now taking closer pictures of a region called Cydonia. There were a couple pictures taken in 1976, very far away with 100-meter resolution, so right on the limits of being able to figure out what we're looking at. And it looks like a very large face that may have been crafted by some
pyramids
civilization.
and what they call a fortress and
that's
all
right,
kinds of...
in a city, and it's the arrangement of all the things that are there too that are very interesting. So a lot of really good science has gone into looking at this area and indicating that it's worth taking a look at with better resolution to see if there really is something there.
But there was huge disappointment with some recent pictures
That's right.
shot by...
Yeah, NASA was very nice about accommodating us in taking pictures, and the picture of the face has come in now. From a certain angle, it does look like just a natural structure. The jury is still out. I'd like to wait myself until I see all the pictures that they take, but that's certainly the appearance, and they've taken one just a couple days ago of the region of the city. I haven't seen any reaction on that yet.
Now, show me your book for a second, and we'll explain that.
This is the Journal of UFO Studies. It's a refereed academic journal and published, and academicians are encouraged to write articles that pertain to UFOs. And so I analyzed a videotape that was taken from Space Shuttle Discovery, and
we can take a look at that.
We can look at that, and I wrote a 70-page article in this journal indicating that what we're going to see on the video were actually probably spacecraft out in space away from the shuttle and not ice particles close. Now here's the video here, really pretty picture that is being taken from the shuttle. The sky is on the upper left, the Earth is the lower upper right.
What year is this?
This was 1991.
Okay.
And the Earth is the lower left, and you can see several little interesting dots there. And the one in particular that we're going to be interested in is in that yellow circle. It's going to appear pretty soon. And there it is right there. It's going to move up and to the left. There will be a couple flashes on the lower left side of the screen. Apparently in reaction to that, the object will cut back sharply to the right. And if you watch closely, there will be a streak that will come through the region that it has just left.
Okay, watch this. It's fascinating.
The flash, double flash is about to come. There's the double flash. There it goes. And there goes the streak right through. And what you really can't see or notice, because we're looking at a lot of different things here, is that there are some objects on the right that react. There was a second streak that went through on the right. There are probably 6 to 8 different objects that move in a funny fashion and react and accelerate in different directions.
Do we know where above the Earth that allegedly is?
This was down probably off the coast of Australia.
Okay. Okay, here's a little different.
And here's a computer-enhanced close-up of that. In the circle, you're going to have the dot appear and move up to the left, and you'll be able to see the streak really pretty well this time. It's going to see a double flash lower left, and then it'll accelerate back up to the right, and then the streak will go through. There it goes, and there's the streak that went right through where it had been. And I did an analysis of this videotape, and at least to my satisfaction, I presented maybe 5 proofs or more that these objects are not ice particles close to the shuttle. They're actually something out in space away from the shuttle. And by process of elimination, they're not meteors, they're not satellites, and they're not comets, certainly, and space junk. And so really the only viable option is that they're actual spacecraft out in space. They change direction. At times they're clearly above the Earth's atmosphere, and they accelerate. And so that's my definition of spacecraft.
Well, I know you've been called upon nationally to comment on this particular specialty of yours, or this item, and other things. Now, what we bring here is we bring an academician, and we bring someone that's had personal experience, and of course you've talked with many others about their personal experiences. All right, now, as we wind down, there's too much to say. We don't have enough time. But you are not weird, to me.
That's encouraging.
I mean, I get the feeling, and I've heard many people on, like, the Art Bell show and that, who I wonder, you know, a little bit about them. They'll sound okay for a while, and then they'll sound kind of flippy.